There was one time I rocked up to my athletics training and there was only one other person there. And I deadass got so nervous that I couldn't even run properly. And every time I talked to them, I was just thinking about how awkward it was and how terrible my conversation skills were and how this person was going to see me differently and maybe they wouldn't want to talk to me as much anymore. Little did I know I was making 4 out of the 4 mistakes, and this video is a full, comprehensive guide on how to overcome those mistakes. The first problem I used to run into was that I was focusing on the wrong stuff. So imagine you're like sucking your own, if you're a guy. And there's 2 things you can focus on there. You can focus on your mouth or you can focus on down there. And one of them is gay, one of them, in my opinion, isn't gay. But when you're having conversations, you can focus on how awkward it is, or you can focus on the conversation and listening to the other person. And if you're blessed with the length and the flexibility to relieve yourself in that way yourself, and this is all hypothetical, of course, I have not done it, but your attention will probably be drawn to like the feeling in the mouth. And there's kind of first and second and third order thoughts. The first one is like, you'll be focusing on your mouth. The second one is, oh, I'm gay. The third one is like, oh, I'm homophobic because I'm thinking about gay. And so it just continues. And instead of resolving that train of thought, which is what I think a lot of people, myself included, do, what I used to do, instead, don't think it all the way out. Just cut it off. Just redraw your focus to where it needs to be. If you can redraw your focus, that's going to eliminate like all the problems, but we want to have it so that we're not constantly automatically slipping back into thinking about ourselves to begin with. And we do that by working on our true confidence. And there's 2 aspects of this, but the first thing is what you see. So there's what you focus on, then there's what you see. So we see different things. For example, when I was at my athletics and there was only one person there, what I saw was, oh, this person's judging me for being awkward. They don't look happy in this conversation, when probably they were just neutral, or we were literally like sprinting as fast as we can. Of course, we're not going to have a big smile on our face, right? And because the first thought that came into my head was the really negative one of like, oh no, they don't look happy to talk to me. I didn't let myself think of other possibilities when there were many, such as, well, maybe they're just tired. And so a habit to build both when you're socializing, when you get these thoughts, and also at other times when you're practicing, which I'll go over later, you're gonna think of stuff. You need to practice thinking of other thoughts, not just accepting the first one straight away because it's probably not true. As well as having a skewed perception of what is happening, you may also have limiting beliefs around what you think will happen. So you may think that if you do something, you're going to get a terrible outcome, when in reality, it's probably going to be fine. Like if you walk around in public like this, it's probably going to be fine. And it's the same thing as before, but with these things as well, you have to actually do them. A really effective way is just to do something. It doesn't have to be the really, really scary thing, but just something a little bit scary, and you'll see that you didn't get that outcome. And evidence is the best way. And so you can obviously just like think about it and reframe your beliefs, but that should be paired with action as much as you can. And so you think of these other possibilities of what could be happening. You observe that things aren't actually happening the way you think it's happening these other ways. And you rationally think about how these other things, that those more positive interpretations, are probably much more likely. You use your rational brain, not your emotional brain, which is stuck in fear. After you've sorted out the issues around what you're seeing, the next step is to sort out what you then feel. So if you see that someone doesn't like you, or you predict that someone's not going to like you, well, how does that make you feel? Like, at the end of the day, if Osama bin Laden didn't like me, what's up? Then I'm not going to be too pissed by that because I don't like the guy either. And obviously that's an extreme example, but it applies all the way. Like, if that person at athletics training, if someone doesn't like me, maybe there's a reason for that. And maybe we're just not the same people. And so maybe we don't need to get everyone to like us. Maybe what makes us valuable and good people is that our friends like us and we like ourselves, not that every single person we ever meet likes us. And when you, again, just keep rationalizing and working through this, you'll realize how true that is, I hope. And then you'll start to believe it. And then after you change what you focus on, what you see, how you then feel, the next thing that comes next is how you then act. So regardless of all this stuff, if you're terribly unconfident, you can still take the action. I know, crazy, right? Like you can just do stuff. And that's easier said than done, but here are some strategies to do that. Relax, breathe, smile. I don't think I need to explain how effective that stuff is. You just need to build a habit of remembering to do that every time you feel uncomfortable. And we'll get to that later, but you do that through practice when you're not socializing. Another thing is you need to know and really deeply believe that if you don't act straight away that very second, you're never going to act, because it's just going to get harder and harder. And so when you know that and you take that really seriously, you're more likely to then act. Whereas if you're just like, oh, I can just think about this a bit more and then do it. No, you can't. And with that, just like the meditation thing I was saying earlier, you don't always need to give these thoughts validity. You can just go, okay, shut up. I'm going to act anyway. And so given that that is the process to become more confident, here is a routine that you can do while you're going to and from social events, and while you're at social events as well. You double it. Yes. These are also the 5 habits. Remember, refocus, reframe, relax, and rejoice. So you should do this during social events. And also I'd recommend that you have something like when you're going to and from there, say you're driving or you're walking or whatever, if there's no one really, really close by, start singing or start yelling or just yell like yee-haw or whatever. Just do something a bit out of your comfort zone, and that will trigger you. That allows you to do the 3 middle steps, which are first you refocus. I'm focused on just singing and having fun, I'm not focused on how everyone else is judging me. Then that's the refocus. Then you reframe. If you think about everyone else judging you for a second, are they really judging you, or are they just going like, damn, that guy's so confident, I wish I had his confidence. Third, also use this as an opportunity to relax your body, breathe and smile, and then resume singing. So that's a good thing to do as just a practice of building the right habits. And then during actual social events, before them, again, remember. So remember why you're doing this. Have a purpose for where you're going there. And that way you've got something to refocus on. So when you refocus, now you can refocus on the purpose of listening and being a good friend and talking to people, rather than if you don't have that purpose for the social interaction, you're just going to go there and you're going to be like, oh, what's the point? And that will mean you'll default more to thinking about yourself. Then when you're actually at social events, again, try to do those 3 middle steps: refocus, reframe, and relax. But obviously you need to build that habit outside of social events, because they can be a little bit too hard to remember stuff during. And then finally, rejoice. You could just write down quickly what's one thing you did well. Because if you do all these steps and you have no positive reinforcement for doing them, i.e. you do them and you don't feel any better, well then you're not going to have much reason to keep doing it. And I think that if you're going out and you're practicing stuff, you need to enjoy that. And the best way to enjoy it is by writing down one thing you did well, or maybe even multiple things you did well. And that way you'll have more momentum to keep doing this stuff. So right now, like literally right now, you could do this. You could, you could sing yourself to a little bit. So you could go for a walk wearing something a little bit stupid, and that will trigger your anxiety a little bit. And then you run through these steps and you start building that habit. So I hope that helped. Subscribe and have a great day.